goes. Everybody out there, go run and tell your homeboys and homegirls it's time for Kenan and Kel to keep you laughing in the afternoon. So don't touch that dial, won't read the room, cause they always in the summer front and you don't wanna miss it. It's double K like do the good way. Yes, Kenan and Kel, I should've said Kel and Kenan. And you gotta watch Kenan, cause Kenan be scheming with a plan or a plot to make it to the top, but they kinda in the middle cause they always getting caught. This ain't the Hardy Boys or a Nancy Drew mystery. It's just Kenan and Kel in your vicinity, like Siegfried and Roy or Abbott and Costello, Magic and Kareem or Penn and Teller. Somebody's in trouble. Oh, here it go. Oh, Nick.
Hello, you're listening to Storytelling Saga, the podcast that shares stories. I'm your host, Allie, and this week I'm discussing Kenan and Kel, created by Kim Bass, starring Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell. The series premiered on Nickelodeon on August 17th, 1996. It ran for 4 seasons with a total of 65 episodes, concluding with the TV movie Two Heads Are Better Than None, which premiered on July 15th, 2000. This is the show I most associate with SNICK, Saturday Night Nickelodeon. I distinctly remember the bumpers in the late 90s with that electricity bolt running through the town. And also, of course, the iconic Big Orange Couch. And I want to give a shout out to Big Orange Couch, the 90s Nickelodeon podcast hosted by Andrew and Joey. They're really awesome. I've been a fan of them for years. I actually interviewed them a couple years ago on my blog. You can check that out at AllieTheWriter.com if you're interested. And they talk about all things 90s Nickelodeon. They talk about 90s Nickelodeon shows, also just the 90s in general. They're just really awesome. They have a lot of great guests on. They have all different formats for their episodes. They did an episode actually where they had a versus, Kenan versus Kel, talking about their iconic characters from all that. They also do write-in episodes, and the first show they did it for was, in fact, Kenan and Kel, so that's really, really awesome. They just each wrote an episode of Kenan and Kel. It was really cool. So shout out to them. Much love to you guys, Andrew and Joey. Keep it up. You're awesome. And this show is just such a joy, even all these years later, revisiting it now. It's, first of all, the theme song, sung by Coolio. I absolutely love this theme song, one of my favorites. It's just gets you pumped for the show. It sums up the show perfectly. You got also references to all of those iconic duos, including, of course, Kenan and Kel. And Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell, they've gone on to do so many other amazing things. Obviously, they really got their big start on TV with all that. And this is actually Nickelodeon's first spin-off series, since from all that, they gave Kenan and Kel their own show. And, obviously, Kenan Thompson, he is now the longest tenured player on SNL. He's been a cast member since 2003. And Kenan's phenomenal on SNL. I watch SNL still from time to time. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I still enjoy it. The SNL at Homes I thought were really great, the most recent episodes. Kenan brought back What's Up With That. I love that sketch. Oh my gosh. If you're interested, check that out on YouTube. It's great. But I actually went to a taping of SNL several years ago. This could be a topic for another episode, but seeing Kenan in person was just so cool. It was actually a dress rehearsal, so it was really cool because we got to see more sketches, and it was earlier, so then by the time we got back, we could just sit down and watch the episode, then see what they cut, what they changed, so it was just a really great experience. And Kel, he has been on other Nickelodeon shows, which is cool. Also, Kenan and Kel are executive producers for the new All That, so that's awesome how that came full circle, where now they are executive producers. They're mentoring the new cast of All That. And every once in a while, I've seen clips where Kel has come on as a guest and he was Ed again, Good Burger is its own amazing thing. Of course, also they starred in Good Burger. I know there has always been rumors for Good Burger 2. They had said that they'd be down for that, so who knows, maybe someday Good Burger 2. And also they actually reunited on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon a few years ago. If you haven't checked that sketch out, that's really awesome. It was just Kel as Ed again, and Kenan as Lester Oaks construction worker. It was so funny, oh my gosh. But if you haven't seen that, check that out too. And also, Kel was a contestant on last season of Dancing with the Stars, season 28, and he was phenomenal on Dancing with the Stars. I really like that show too. He was actually ended up being runner-up. I mean, I thought he deserved to win, but he was runner-up, and he was just amazing on that show. He's also a youth minister, so that's really amazing too. And it's just, I mean, time has passed so much, but every once in a while when they do interviews together, it's just so sweet. And because I know there were those rumors saying like, oh, they hate each other now, but like, all this fabricated stuff just for the sake of, I mean, because they went their separate ways. Obviously they went to go on to do other things, but obviously they're still friends, even though, it's just the nature of the business, but they're still friends. And that's so cool that now, like I said, that they are executive producers on the new All That. So that's really awesome. So just nothing but respect and love for Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell. They are two people I would love to meet someday for sure. I mean, they just seem like such awesome, genuine, truly funny, and just really nice people. So that's amazing. And so just watching this show, I mean, so like late 90s for me, that was like, everyone always says, well, not everyone, but for me personally, late 90s to early 2000s for me were that coveted time for Nickelodeon. Just that peak era of Nickelodeon. Obviously, whatever era people grew up with, that's what you're just more of a fan of, since there's that nostalgia bias there. And I will say that I grew up, for the target demographic of Nickelodeon, 6 to 11, I grew up I was age 6 to 11 from the late 90s to early 2000s. So there's no coincidence there that being the target demographic at that age. And those are the shows that, to me, finally looking back on them, that I just most enjoy revisiting with these Nickelodeon shows. I did always love All That too, but I just really, really loved Kenan and Kel. It always made me laugh. I was always so excited to watch it. So, just an all-around great show. And they really had such a perfect formula for this show that's really just explained even in the theme song, with Kenan and his schemes, but then Kel always messing it up, just being so hyperactive and just, quick to destroy whatever it is that they're trying to do. I mean, that's always the number one thing in all these Nickelodeon shows. You gotta not be afraid to, the live action shows, I should say, not be afraid to make a mess of yourself and of the sets, of course, and all that too. So that's just all really great. Oh my goodness, just reminiscing about all of this and rewatching all these episodes, it puts such a smile on my face. I just love Kenan and Kel, the people, and the characters too. So as a kid, I didn't, just that to me, that was Kenan and Kel, that's their personality. So, because it's great too how they have every episode with them addressing the audience with the curtains, and then just Kel every time saying, oh, here it goes, and then they would go off, and then the curtains would open, so it's as if it was like a play. That was always my interpretation of it as a kid. That must have been so amazing as a kid, getting to see a taping of Kenan and Kel or All That, just all those great shows during 90s Nickelodeon. And great characters on this show, but I mean, you gotta feel bad for Kenan's father, Roger, because he puts up with all of Kel's nonsense. As a kid, I always thought of him as this really strict, overbearing father, and he is, but I mean, it's you can understand why, with what he puts up with Kel, considering all that. He kind of, it's just amazing. He didn't really just totally, he did lose it, but I mean, even with Kenan too, how he put up with a lot with him, Kenan always getting into trouble and everything, how their plans always, all of his schemes always backfire because of Kel's craziness, but it's always because if he hadn't gotten them into mischief in the first place. So it's a little of both with Kenan and Kel, with this duo. Then it's so funny. And honestly though, with Roger, and I have to say, Roger and Cheryl, they are couple goals, I would say. They're just a really great couple. I never realized, as a kid, because, as a kid, you don't really care about, the adults, really, but you care about, all the shenanigans and all that, but they are just really a nice couple, and they have, a nice social life, they have a nice love for one another, they're just a great team. And also, of course, Kenan's little sister, Kyra, who had a crush on Kel. I think most of us had a crush on Kel. What's funny, too, is that as the show went on, then when they would each introduce themselves, Kel would always clearly get the loudest cheer from the audience. Like, I said, my name is Kel, and everyone would cheer so loudly and crazily. And then, of course, there's also Kenan's boss, Chris Potter. And Chris, too, he put up with a lot with Kenan. You would think he would have fired Kenan for all of the trouble, all the messes he's made at Rigby's and everything. That's so, but Chris is just great. He's just like a well-intentioned guy, but he's a bit of a doof, but he's just overall just a nice guy. And that's funny too, because I've mentioned this, that my very first job was as a grocery store cashier. So like Kenan, that's my very first job too. And it's funny, too, how we never, ever see Kel's family at all. They're referenced every now and then, but he's basically like the third unofficial child of the Rockmores. He really is. And it's just hilarious. It's so funny. But what is funny, too, though, is that at one point when they're graduating in season 4, and then Kenan says, I never even know, what do your parents do? And then Kel says, oh, my mom's a brain surgeon, my dad's a rocket scientist, so his parents are absolute geniuses. And that's what's great, too, that even though Kel, being this super hyperactive kid, well, teenager, they're teenagers, but that he's actually really genuinely smart. Kenan is, too. That's great, too. There's that episode when they take that IQ test, and then Kel's bragging that he's a genius because he got a 96, and then Kenan thinks he got a 3, but then it turns out actually Kenan got a 90, and Kel actually got a 98. So that's great that they're actually genuinely smart people as well. And just their friendship is just so pure, and it's just, even though all the mischief they get in, all this crazy shenanigans, that there's just an amazing friendship. Also, obviously, this show gave us one of the greatest catchphrases in any show. You already know, I don't need to say it. Take it away, Kel.
Who loves orange soda? Kel loves orange soda. Is it true? Is it true? Oh yes, it's true. Ooh. I do. Ooh.
Come on. It's what's funny about that with orange soda, him saying that, his love for orange soda, it always made me want to try orange soda. And then when I finally did, I don't know, maybe I was young, but when I finally tried, I was like, oh, it's okay, nothing that great. Like, what's so great about this? It's just funny. Like, all the hype for it. And then I was like, oh, all right, it's fine, but obviously orange soda just because orange with the Nickelodeon logo. That's funny that there's that whole episode when Kenan and Kel make that bet because Kel's insides are orange because he drinks so much orange soda every single day. So then they make that bet if he can go a week without drinking orange soda. And then Kenan even makes the reference how his insides are bright orange as the Nickelodeon logo.
You should have seen his x-rays. His insides are bright orange.
They weren't that orange.
Oh, man. Your insides are more orange than a Nickelodeon logo.
So maybe you should quit drinking orange soda.
Maybe I will. Ha! What you mean by ha? Ha! No, what you mean by ha? I mean that you couldn't quit drinking orange soda if your life depended on it.
I could quit drinking orange soda anytime I want.
You couldn't go one day without drinking orange soda.
Man, I can go a whole week without drinking orange soda.
False.
Wanna bet?
You gotta bet. The bet is you gotta go an entire week without drinking orange soda. If you lose, then you got to stand on this here counter in the middle of the daytime singing the national anthem wearing nothing but a lady's nightgown.
Okay, but if I win, you have to do it.
You're on.
Hey, you're on.
All right. Let's drink to it.
Let's drink to it.
All right. Ain't no shame in my game.
Ain't no shame in my game.
To the bet.
To the bet. Hey.
Oh, that's good orange soda.
Evil.
Yep.
Also, of course, there is another iconic line in this show. In the second episode, The Tainting of the Screw.
I did it! Kenan! I'm sorry, man! I did it! It was an mean it. I dropped the screw in the tuna. I dropped the screw in the tuna.
Another quick reference regarding Big Orange Couch, the 90s Nickelodeon podcast. They did an episode about iconic quotes from all these 90s shows, and they claimed that that was the number one quote of all these Nickelodeon shows, so that's awesome. And one of the more really nice messages in one of the episodes is in the Christmas episode, Merry Christmas, Kenan. First off, though, I love the whole thing with what Kel wants for Christmas.
Kenan, look! What is that? It's a tuba phone! A tuba phone? See, it's not just a tuba. It's a phone! Is that cool or what? Oh, yes. Many a time I've been talking on the telephone and thinking to myself, you know, if only I could be blowing a tuba during this conversation. Me too.
It's not just a tuba, it's a phone. Amazing. But then when Kenan agrees to be the mall Santa so he can get $100 so then he can pay for the bike he's been wanting, and then we meet that kid Daniel, who is the most selfless older brother. It's just so sweet, that whole scene.
Well, ho, ho, ho! And what's your name, little boy?
I'm Daniel.
Well, hello there, Daniel.
Nice to meet you, Santa. Over there's my little sister, Katie.
Hi there, Katie! Oh, and what can Santa bring you this Christmas?
Oh, nothing for me, thanks.
What do you mean, nothing? Oh,
I was just hoping that maybe you could bring my little sister a new bike.
Yes. But what do you want for Christmas?
Oh, don't worry about me. Just a bike for my little sister. See, she had a bike, but it got stolen, and my mom can't afford to get her a new one.
Oh, well, Santa will do his best to bring a bike for your sister this
You
Christmas.
mean it?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, thanks, Santa.
Oh.
Katie, Santa's gonna bring you a bike. Come say thanks. She's just shy. Thanks, Santa. Katie, wait up. Mom, come on.
Hi, I'm their mother.
Yeah, so you're gonna get her a new bike, right?
Oh, I wish I could.
But I told him.
Oh, don't worry. I'll find a way to explain it to them. I'll just tell them Santa got lost or something. They'll understand. Bye now. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And then when Kenan uses his money to buy Daniel and Katie presents, buys them each a bike, that's just the most selfless, sweet, giving, kind things. And again, an always important message about what's truly important about Christmas, about giving, about being kind, and in this case, helping people who were less fortunate than him, and him putting his own selfish needs aside, that even though he's been saving up for this bike that he's been wanting. And then what's so beautiful is that his kindness is rewarded in the end when Santa Claus comes and gives him the bike that he wanted. So that's just a really sweet moment, and I just really love that. And just, oh my god, so many ridiculous, crazy things. Also when, again with Roger, how he puts up with so much with Kenan and Kel, when they have to watch Roger's bird twizzles and then it ends up dying, and then he gets another bird to replace it, and then of course when they get found out at the end, always, nothing ever works out. They always get into so much trouble in the end. Even in the very first episode when Kenan wants to buy a car, then end up buying a stolen car, and then when his parents find out, of course, it's like every episode ends like when they're at their peak, most in trouble, just like right at the end when the consequences are going to blow up in their face, and then you just know to go, we're grounded, and that's it. When afterwards, when they come out to address the audience again, and it's just, oh my goodness. Again, just a quality formula that just works every time. It's just so good. And a hilarious one to me is the season 2 episode, Parental Guidance, when Kenan thinks he's in trouble because their Principal Dimly, wants to see him and his parents in her office. So then he decides to hire 2 random people to play his parents, And the woman, Martha, who plays his mom, is so hilarious.
My name is Martha. Which of your parents will I be playing?
My mother. See, you're a female. She'll be playing a female role.
I don't know if I want to work with her.
Oh, you have to. I'll pay each of you $35.
It's a deal.
$35. I don't know.
All right, 36.
Done. You must learn to negotiate.
Just brilliant. And then when they are actually in the meeting with the principal, it's just so, that whole scene, it's hilarious.
Kel, I don't believe you were invited to this meeting.
Oh, that's all right. Go ahead. Do your thing.
No, I mean, I really don't.
No, it's okay. Kel's just like one of the family.
Yes, like me. I'm the father, you know.
Yes, I know. I've always wanted to meet Kenan's parents.
Oh, are they coming too?
Don't talk.
So, why don't you tell me a little bit about the two of you? Mrs. Rockmore, how did you and your husband meet? I said, how did you meet your husband?
Mom, answer, please.
You said I couldn't talk.
Answer the question.
Oh, well, I met my husband through Kel. Kel introduced us.
You just don't get it, do you?
Well, I don't understand. How could Kel have introduced
she didn't mean Kel. She meant Kel Edge, college. Yes, they met in college.
That's right. We met in college, dear.
Which college? Kel.
Didn't you bring us here to tell us about our Kevin?
Kenan, you wacky mom, you.
Well, I'll come right to the point. I brought you down here, Mr. and Mrs. Rockmore, to discuss Kenan's schoolwork.
Now, Kenan, you're going to be severely punished. No TV for a month.
Dad, not yet.
Oh.
No, Mr. Rockmore. What I have to say is good. Your son is doing quite well in school.
Oh, my Lord, I'm all right. I'm all right. But, you say I'm doing well?
Yes, extremely well. Kenan's score was one of the highest on his achievement test, and I wanted to discuss colleges with you, if I may.
Boy, look at this, man. Wait a second. You brought my parents down here to say good stuff about me?
That's right.
Oh, we are so proud of you, Kelvin.
That's just so hysterical. And then they pretend to be Kenan's parents at his house, and then Martha's like, I'm sorry, I couldn't find the house, and then just all that ridiculous stuff. And then, of course, when Cheryl and Roger walk in, they're saying, we're the Rockmores, we're the Rockmores. Oh, ridiculous. Oh, my gosh. Another one I would like that would be played a lot, I feel like, was the Clowning Around episode with Kyra's birthday party, and that clown that just robs Rigby's, like just steals the money from Rigby's, and of course with that super distinct, over-the-top comical sneeze of his.
Come on. Making a dog, hey, making a dog. Ain't nothing wrong with making a dog. Shake it, clown. Do it to the left, do it to the right, do it to the left. Oh. He's magnificent. Okay, my turn. Make me a snake. Snake? Ooh, he's a genius. Oh, look, he's gonna sneeze. Oh, gracious. You want a hanky? Oh, well, that hanky seems endless. How does he do?
And then what's hilarious is that then the clown at Kyra's party is, they think that that's the clown that stole from Rigby's, but then it turns out it's just another clown that happens to have that same exact distinct, ridiculously over-the-top sneeze. So funny, oh my gosh. But that one's so cute too, though, with Kyra, how she's always been crushing on Kel, and then that other girl that girl Megan, who's a jerk the whole time, but then she likes Kel too, and then he's like, oh, you're not gonna say that about my girlfriend, like, you know, he gives Kyra a kiss on the cheek, and then he's just like doing that just to help Kyra, and then she's like, okay, now, and then he's like, okay, now stop it, now that's enough. And then just so many things that just make me burst out laughing, like also in the episode, a star is peeved when they're shooting a movie at Rigby's Supermarket Cop. What a movie. It's no Supermarket Cop 3. And then the director guy's getting so annoyed with Kenan and Kel because, of course, they keep disrupting everything. It's so great.
Now look! I am not gonna tell you two guys again. Stay out of the way!
Now look! I am not gonna tell you two guys again. Stay out of the way!
What's also hilarious, too, another, like, staple of this show, is every time someone would say a word that Kenan and Kel were confused by, and which would happen quite often, they would just kind of, like, mock it. Happened a lot with Chris.
What is all the hullabaloo?
Hullabaloo.
You know what I mean.
I love that, oh my gosh. And another great one is Ditch Day Afternoon, when, of course, they skip school, and then, of course, like, as they're at the bank, then two robbers come in. So then it's just over-the-top stuff, but always a great lesson. Stay in school. Don't skip school. But it's so funny with their Spanish teacher, and then, like, that one guy who's, like, the messenger who gave her the message that Kenan and Kel, we can't come into school because they, like, Kenan has I forget what it is, but Kel has an infected tongue. I remember that. It's so stupid. But then when they are watching the news that there's the bank robbery and the hostages and everything, and then the teacher, it's just so funny.
It seems that two brave teenagers have risked their own lives by volunteering to let the other hostages go.
That is so rad.
Yes, it's rad. But why are you still here?
Whoa, easy there, Aunt B.
Again, amazing. And were a lot of great guest stars on the show. They had Ron Harper of the Chicago Bulls. That's a really great episode. That's another really sweet moment, too, when everyone blames Kenan and Kel for injuring Ron because he slips on the orange soda, and then the whole town hates them. And then when they go to him to try to ask for forgiveness, but then he's like, no, just leave me alone. And then Kel has that really sweet line where he says,
Hey, Ron. I'm sorry that I made you fall. And even though you won't help us, you're still my hero.
Just a really sweet thing. Like, he's his hero, and that no matter what, you're still my hero. I just love that. It's so sweet. And then when he gives a press conference, Ron's just so funny too. Another great thing with Chris.
What's going on, Ron?
I'm here just having a little press conference.
Press conference?
You mean a conference to the press?
Be quiet.
And then, of course, the ending when everything's okay, but then just one more thing.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. What a wonderful thing you did. You saved my store.
Forget that. You saved our lives, fella.
Well, could you still sign my orange soda bottle?
Sure, you got a pen?
Yeah, hold on.
Oh!
Dropping the orange soda bottle on Ron Harper's foot. Gosh. But also in season 1, in the line of Kenan, where they just have a Bill Clinton lookalike, and it's just so hysterical when Kenan saves the president's life, and then they're nervous to meet him, and like when they introduce themselves.
There stands the most distinguished, powerful leader of the free world.
Hey, slushos, out of my way.
Wait,
My, that is some good slusho.
I fixed the machine myself.
What's your name, young fella?
Kiki.
Nice to meet you, Kiki. What's your name?
My Sharona.
Hello, Sharona. You own this store?
No, I have a radio in my car.
Whatever.
and just all the shenanigans they get into at the White House. And then another more serious one that I liked too was the 2-part episode Bye Bye Kenan, when Kenan and his family are going to be moving away because his dad got a new job at Pumice, Montana. And then there's a great little exchange with Kenan and Chris when they just kind of say how much they mean to each other without really saying anything at all.
Man, I'm really gonna miss working here. I mean, you've been so great to me over the years, and, well, I just wanted to say that, well, you know.
I know. I know.
Okay, as long as you know.
Yeah, and, well, you know.
I know.
You know?
I know. It wasn't easy to tell you.
I know.
And then the part that always broke my heart after Kenan boxed up all his stuff, and then they got their walkie-talkies, and they just said, let's each keep one to remember each other by. And then they're just sitting back to back.
Kel to Kenan. Kenan to Kel. I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you too.
And then in the following episode, when they're in their disgusting home and everything about it is terrible, and Kenan walks up the stairs and he just falls like there's no upstairs. It's just crazy. Oh my gosh.
Honey, remind me to call the plumber.
This house bites.
It just needs a little work.
It needs a bulldozer.
Oh, okay, listen now. Before you two go criticize the whole place, why don't you just go upstairs and, take a look at your rooms, okay?
All right, I'm gonna check my room. And I'm gonna tell you like this, though. If my room don't look no better than this house, then we gonna have some serious problems. Well, I found a neat little shortcut to the closet.
And I love, of course, when Kenan and Kel reunite.
I sure do miss you, buddy.
I miss you too.
Is that you? How can you hear me all the way from Chicago?
I'm not in Chicago.
Well, where are you?
Open your door.
Open my door.
And then they basically have to get Roger fired because he's under contract. So then they do the whole thing where they're gonna have that kid Cleve dress up like a bear, and then it turns out it was an actual bear. It's just so ridiculous. And then the whole job is to be a mountain ranger. And it's well, so what do I do? Just nothing. You do nothing all day. So ridiculous. And then it all works out, and Kenan moves back. So that's great too. They move back to Chicago. Love that. And then by season 3, they introduced other characters, including Charlotte Morrison, who was another co-worker at Rigby's. She's introduced in Skunkator versus Mothman. I love how he wants to get that Skunkator comic, Kenan's, and then he just leaves the store and leaves Charlotte there all by herself. It's terrible, but then you got Kel with being Patty the Power Pixie. Oh my gosh. And then after all that, then Chris goes and gets the comic book signs that he wanted. But then, of course, he finds out at the end, oh, Kenan, what's with those shoes? The Skunkator shoes, because he had dressed up like him. Oh, gosh. And then they also were introduced to Mark Cram, and I never realized that his name is a palindrome, because it's M-A-R-C-C-R-A-M, so Mark Cram. That's awesome. And he's introduced in that episode to catch a thief when Kenan thinks that he stole his watch. And Mark Cram, he's the stereotypical nerd, but he's very nerdy and doofy. He really likes watches. He's a great speller, but he won the spelling bee contest, and he's Kenan's new neighbor, so that's really great. So, but what's great is that yes, he's a nerd and everything, but he's not a character that's really Kenan calls him a geek and stuff. But he's not bullied. He's a really well-rounded, outgoing kid. He's got a lot of friends. He does that episode. He does another episode in Happy Birthday Mark, he does a costume party, and like he's like the life of the party, dancing, and like, oh my gosh, just that reminds me, all the physicality in this show, with Kel in particular, just high energy all the time, with just, besides like making a mess and everything, but also like with all his dancing and stuff, with all like the crashing through everything, so much physicality. But I mean, all of the over-the-top physical humor, that's with like all the characters, really. They all do such a great job with that. But I mean, just Kel in particular, he's just so hilarious with the dancing in that episode, Happy Birthday Mark, with the dancing. It's just, oh my gosh, I love that. And Mark too with his dancing, that's just so great. And I always loved the episode, it's like an episode that will be played a lot, I feel like. The episode Freezer Burned, when they all got stuck in the freezer because Kel knocked into the wall, knocking down the arrow for the bathrooms, and he put the arrow on backwards, and they all walked into the freezer, and he broke the handle, so then one by one they'd all be trapped in there, like the entire restaurant, and then Chris is the last one to walk in. Oh my gosh, and first it's too freezing, and then Kel breaks the temperature, breaks the thing, so then it's too warm, and oh my god. So, like, that seems like a nightmare, though, being stuck with all these people and, like, having to go to the bathroom and, like, you're just stuck in there until someone comes. And, like, each time they just can't hold the door open. It's just so, again, so, like, ridiculous and classic sitcom shenanigans. But, you know, it's hilarious, though. And then there's also the episode when, like, they get all their stuff stolen. Oh, my God, it's so ridiculous, too. It's, like, don't, like, leaving the door open. So then all their stuff's getting stolen, and the guy's like, the two men stealing, so you gotta stay upstairs for a while, because we're gonna be spraying the house for bugs. Like, so stupid. And then Kel's like, oh, alright. Like, oh my gosh. Oh, jeez. And that's when the Rockmores go to Pizza Farm, where there's, like, petting, like, animals you could pet, like, literal zoo animals, which as a kid seems fun, but then, you know, that seems highly unsanitary as an adult, but gosh, like, looking at it, watching it now, but geez, so crazy. There's also the episode Present Tense, when it's Kenan's birthday, and first off, Chris's gift for him is amazing.
It's a pen!
Well, thank you. Now I'll open it and try to act surprised or something. Oh, look at that! It's a pen!
It's a talking pen.
A talking pen?
Yeah, give it a listen-y.
Time to write.
What? Well, that's really different.
Time to write.
I knew you'd love it.
Whoa! Whoa, I mean, whoa with a capital whoa! Oh, man!
Time to write. 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 Time to write.
I mean, a pen.
Time to write.
I would honestly love a pen like that. Time to write. That's amazing. But then also what's hilarious is that Kel then gets his own pen, like that. And then Kenan goes snooping for the greatest gift ever, and then he finds that snow globe that turns out to be for their Uncle Louie, to patch things up with their Uncle Louie. And when they find the snow globe with the cow in it, and Kel's story that he says, it's so hilarious.
What is it? What is it? What is it? It's one of them lame snow globe things. Oh, man, maybe you lucky that first opinion. Now this, whoa. Yeah, this is the best gift ever. Hey, you said it. Look. It's just a normal cow sitting in the field, minding his own business. Then, look, it's all snowy inside. Go cow, go cow. Go cow. All right. Time to stop playing with the awful gifts, man. I gotta wrap it back. Okay, I'm done.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Amazing. There's also a point in that episode that I did not remember at all, where Kenan and Kel are just dressed up as old women. Like, they are just like the old aunts, like his Uncle Louie saying, oh, you remember your great aunts? And then it's just Kenan and Kel dressed up as them. You know, very All That-esque. Kind of reminds me a little bit of when Kenan would be Miss Pidlin. And that's one of my favorite characters of his. And since I just brought that up, I love Kel, I love Ed, of course, and also Coach Cretin. Just amazing characters on All That, but that's, again, for another time. Another great episode is Who Loves Who? Ooh. And what's really amazing that I never knew until now is that Kenan helped co-write the episode, as well as Nick Cannon. That's really awesome. And Nick Cannon showed up in a handful of episodes. He was great on all that too. I remember he had his own show then at one point on Nickelodeon. Anyway, so that episode it's just really cute, because then at that point, like the whole thing with Kenan and Charla, how they always kind of butt heads, that Charla was never fooled by Kenan's nonsense, really, and she was always very sarcastic with him, and he was like, oh, thank you, Charla, I'm always so happy to hear your wit. But then, of course, they kind of developed crushes on each other, and so that's cute when he wants to ask her out to the dance, but then she's like, oh, I'm waiting for the perfect guy. He doesn't realize that she's talking about him, so then he thinks he needs to ask someone else because he thinks Charla is going with someone else, and then he wants to ask Tamia, another guest star in the episode, the singer Tamia. But what's so funny is that at the beginning of the episode, there is that elderly woman who comes into the store every now and then, the woman who just asks questions that have obvious answers, and it's so hysterical.
Excuse me, young man.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it cold outside?
I don't know. I mean, you're the one that just came in from the outside.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Another great one is in the Skunkator and Mothman episode when she asks him about the Washington Red delicious apples, and she's saying, are they red? Are they delicious? Where are they from? And he's just like reading the sign to her. Oh my gosh. All the random customers at Rigby's are just so great. There's the one woman who just pays for, like, counting out pennies to pay for something. And there was another lady, Miss Quagmire, in that one episode when they, like, Kel wins the lottery and then, like, the ticket ends up in her bag, so then she gets the money. Like, it's just all that crazy stuff. And, like, at one point she's saying, excuse me, I just want to buy these peanuts, and, like, Kenan's just totally ignoring her. Again, I don't know how Kenan held on to that job with the kind of worker he is. What's funny, though, back to that episode, Who Loves Who? Ooh, that by the end of it, but Kel, like, he has a secret admirer, then it ends up being that woman, like the one saying, excuse me, young man, like, that's his secret admirer. So funny, oh gosh. And then Kenan and Charla end up dancing at the dance, and then the DJ's like, oh, that doesn't look like Tamia to me, and Kenan just says, mind your business. Oh gosh. And then I also always loved the episode Poem Sweet Poem, which guest stars Josh Server. And while I just brought him up, he's also obviously was so great on all that. I'm Detective Dan. I love that, Detective Dan on all that. Anyway, again, that's for another time. But I always loved that one because, first of all, there's a character that has my name, Allison, with Philip and Allison, those two going out, and they're just so in love with each other, and just, oh gosh, but they're so funny. And then they have to write poems for class. And obviously Kel's poem is amazing.
Who loveth orange sodeth? Kel loveth orange sodeth. Is it trueth? It. I do it. I do it. I
do it. That's just true art. Oh, and also that just reminds me, I love the episode when Kel, like, is just this amazing artist when he makes that beautiful painting and he calls it Sunset Funset. I love that. And then the man buys his painting for like $50,000, but it turns out he thought he was a popular, well-known artist or whatever. But still, Kel with all of his secret talents, you gotta love it. But then this one, then Kenan writes a poem and then he dedicates it to Charla.
My vision of love. Boy, you done gone and found something. When I'm feeling rainy inside, you are the umbrella that keeps my heart from getting wet. You are the air in my balloon. You are the escalator in my mall of love. You are my angel. And you are my Charlotte.
And then, like, he's embarrassed by it. He's like, oh, yeah, Philip wrote this. And then that girl, Allison, just loses it because she thinks Philip is in love with Charla. And then, gosh, and then, like, when Philip's saying, oh, she dumped me. And then Kel does that whole, like, speech, oh, no, why?
You and Allison was so perfect together. I mean, I can't believe you would ever find another girl like Allison. Allison was a very nice person, that Allison. I can't believe you two just broke it up like, oh, Allison, why? Allison, why?
Again, I just love that because I'm biased because we have the same name. But then when Kenan's like, oh, we gotta write her a new poem, and then his new poem is just so funny.
My dearest Allison, put your ring on my lonely finger. Don't let our love linger. Together forever. Yeah. Forever together. Ooh, put something in there about orange soda. No, Dippy. Allison. Ooh, I like that one. Words cannot describe how I feel, so I guess I have to end this poem now. One and only love.
And then when Kel, of course, like, trusting Kel to do something, he's like, okay, go put this in her locker. And then she's saying, oh, Kel, did you write this? He's like, no, Kenan wrote it. And she's like, oh, Kenan. And then she puts the ring on his finger. And then, like, when they have to go to her house to clear up everything, and then it's just so funny. And then they just go hide. And then, of course, Philip shows up, and then he's like, why is there a ladder in your bed? It's just so ridiculous. Again, just all just crazy things that, you know, it's like weird, crazy scenarios that in a sitcom, but just so funny and silly and over the top, but amazing. And honestly, speaking of over the top, I always loved the episode in season 4, 3 Girls, a Guy, and a Cineplex, which has that overdone plot of 2 dates in the same night, where Kenan has a date with Charla. He missed his date with Charla, so he has to make it up to her. And I mean, by the way, Charla puts up with a lot with Kenan. I think then Kenan just kind of blew his chances with Charla, because, like, you can only get so many chances, Kenan. But poor Kenan, oh gosh. But then when he asks out that girl Caitlin, because she had just gotten dumped, and then so it's saying, oh, why don't you take her out, Kenan? So then he's gonna go out with her, of course, on the same night. And then Kel gets him a 3rd date with, it's just so ridiculous. And he's saying, oh no, I told her your name is Alphonse, so that she'll think you're on a date with Alphonse, not Kenan. I always just loved when he explains it to Charla.
She's Alphonse's date. Not Kenan's date, but Alphonse's date.
So again, it's just like that typical plot, but just an added layer of now a 3rd date, just because it's just more ridiculous and just so dumb, but that just makes it all the more hilarious. So I love that too. And then, of course, I also love the 2 specials, the 1-hour special, Oh, Here It Goes to Hollywood, with all the havoc they wreak in Hollywood. And I had forgotten that the premise for it was that they were trying to win a contest, a vacation to anywhere they wanted in the world. And then Kel answers the question, and then he says he wants to go to Amsterdam, Europe, for Orange Soda Fest. So then while his family's there, then of course they get on the wrong flight, they end up in Hollywood. There's that whole montage with all their shenanigans in Hollywood. And then they're going to go to the, again, so many guest stars in that one. Also Bill Bellamy, who had been in episode 2, with them taking pictures with Bill Bellamy after Kel had destroyed all the pictures. Just, you know, of course, Kel, oh gosh. And Britney Spears also guest stars in it. So funny. And then, like, when Kenan passes out, and then she's like, is he okay? And then Kel says, oh, don't worry about him. He always passes out when he meets Britney Spears. And Kel just wants to meet David Alan Grier. And then when they meet him, and then Kel's saying, you're David Alan Grier? And he's saying, no, you know what? This whole time I thought David Alan Grier was the guy who sang Oops, I Did It Again, or Hit Me Baby One More Time. He's like, no, that's Britney Spears. We just met her. You turned her hair green. So ridiculous. Again, ridiculous, but amazingly ridiculous. Just so, I just love it. You know, it still just makes me laugh. It just really does. It's just so silly, so dumb, but gotta love Kenan and Kel. And then the series concluded with, I can't believe this movie is almost 20 years old now, Two Heads Are Better Than None, with the headless knight, that whole thing, all that creepy stuff. It's a fun movie. It's a fun TV movie. And I always liked those crazy people, the Shelleys.
I didn't mean to startle you. I was wondering, can I trouble you for some ketchup?
Yeah, sure. We have some right over here in the cooler.
Oh, thank you so much. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Sheldon Wilson.
Shelley Wilson.
We're the Wilsons.
Thank you so much for the ketchup.
No problem.
We're the Rockmores, and that's Kel.
Shelley and I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to meet you all.
I thought your name was Shelley.
Oh, it is. But Shelley is also short for Sheldon. So we call each other Shelley.
Oh, is your daddy adorable?
Yeah, and if you need anything from us, just holler!
Really energetic. Also, when Kel tells his amazing story around the campfire.
When the bread popped out of the toaster, no one knew what to put on it. Jelly, margarine, cinnamon sugar. I suggested butter. Crumbs were everywhere.
Ed! He said let's tell ghost stories, not toast stories.
Oh, I don't know any ghost stories.
And then later when their car breaks down and then the Shelleys are just waving at them, like, gosh.
Oh, yeah! Hey, that's the Shelleys! Come on, the Wilson, come on, yeah!
Thanks again for the ketchup.
Oh, man, those guys are so cool. No, they're not, man. They just left us here.
And then, of course, like the whole thing, they go to the one town they are saying that is dangerous, Rockville, and then they go to the house, what turns out to be the guy, the headless knight, who just uses people's heads. Really is creepy when you think about it, but, you know, as a kid, you don't really think about that stuff. But, you know, that was really the final episode of this show. And also, I remember they did a crossover episode with Cousin Skeeter. I do remember that, too. But again, it's just a truly fun, hilarious show with ridiculous situations, and we always know it's going to go wrong for them. Also, another great one is that episode when Kenan asks out that girl Brianna, and then she wears this sweater that her deceased grandmother had knit for her, and then it keeps getting more and more destroyed. It's one of those things where it's so frustrating, but as a kid it's hilarious because it's like, oh no, her nice sweater, and it's all ruined, and it just keeps getting more and more ruined throughout the episode, and then by the end it's just burnt to a crisp in the fryer. So again, I truly do love this show. Even as an adult, I really do. It's fun to rewatch, even with how ridiculous it is. But it's just so funny. It just brings such joy. That's all you can ask for, bringing such joy and laughter. And with that is going to conclude this week's episode of Storytelling Saga. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at Storytelling Saga, as well as on Twitter at Storytell Saga. You can also send me any questions, comments, or writing prompts by leaving me a message in the contact section of storytellingsaga.com or by sending me an email at storytellingsaga@gmail.com. Next week, I can go the distance when I discuss Hercules. Until then, thank you for listening, and remember, write what you love.
Kel, go grab something else, and a third thing, and meet me there. Come on, nickname.